What's up, guys? Very, very nice day today. Hopefully you guys nailed AXSM as well. The trades, the ideas, the thoughts, pretty all very well spot on. This is not all of my trades at all. I actually, in E-Trade, did not sell any until 11:30, 11:45, and 11:50. So I pretty much had held the majority of the size. I did sell a few at 10:37, 10:40, but I quickly added them back a dime lower. So for the most part, from open 6:30, around 590, 620, 620s, and so on and so forth. I didn't sell any until we got into the 8:30. So I was really happy with the trade. You can see here, I had a pre-market trade, and I basically let it kind of ramp up. I was waiting 740s. I sold some 740, 740, 730, 748s. I rebought some 640s and under 6. Obviously, if you've got $4 per share, you can't be risking 20 cents on the name. You've got to have a big picture type plan. You can't be scaling in crazy size, but you can scale in size if you're on the right side. So I was really happy with the trade overall. Like I said, I had sized out of some, and then I ended up putting it either on flat or rebuying it about a dime lower. Just kept on adding, and then we got that beautiful squeeze up towards the 8:30s, 8:40s, and so on and so forth towards the noon push. It was really, really nice opportunity. I was very, very happy with the way in which I traded it. I actually sold when, typically I might overhold something, which is not necessarily the smart thing to do. But, sometimes I just have trouble being a little bit too patient with things. So the other trades was later in the day, under 7, and then 7, I added some, and then I sold most into the VWAP. So the key here that I want to talk about, or show at least, is it's fine to let some kind of hang just in case it breaks through, and it's fine to re-add if it broke through. But if you're coming back and it's 1 p.m., 2 p.m., or whatever, basically later in the day, and you're on the backside of a move, you should assume that it's going to fail at this VWAP level. And sometimes it blows right through it, and you're upset that you sold it, but it is what it is. And over the time, you'll start to realize that basically doing this more often than not is the proper trade, because it's not always going to squeeze out, and the number of times that things squeeze out like this one is very rare. And you can even go compare it to like a black swan type thing. The time that the stock goes from 2 to 10 to 40, you really want to be patient and you want to nail the next one, but how many times do you need to fail in order to end up holding for that holy grail type trade? So that's just my thoughts on this. So anyway, fantastic trade. Commentary in the room was spot on, so I do hope that it was helpful to people. I got a great solid read on it this morning. It was really nice that it pulled back out of the gate and gave an opportunity. Basically, when things pull back like this, it basically traps. I mean, this is what we always hope for. You don't want it to just run away, and sure, if they end up squeezing out some of the pre-market shorts, and that's it. It runs out of the gate for 20 minutes. That's fine. But for longevity, for having a trade that you can actually make some serious money on, some real liquidity, 50 million shares, I mean, this is like the perfect type of setup. It allows you to kind of dip by. Maybe you're right, maybe you're not, but at least you can start to dabble in there. And then when you are right, even if you do the right thing and sell into the rip, this is exactly what I was telling you guys right here, right? So if it rips through VWAP, that's fine. But make sure you're a seller. I was a seller, but guess what? The next pullback, it absorbed. So guess what? I rejoined and I add, And then my biggest size was right here, size way up, and because then I knew squeeze was on, and I went ahead and locked in, and just kept on locking in along the way. So you saw the other trades, and like I said, I held almost into about noon, so pretty much here for the exits, and then just that one little trade over here into the push, and ditched the last bits. It's going up after hours, which is fantastic. Hopefully we get a nice trade out of it tomorrow. I mean, in a perfect world, week open, everybody's bashing it, and they got to raise money, and yeah, we know that. That's a fact. But then it just takes off and starts going 8s, 9s, 10s. That would be fantastic. We haven't had it for a while. This was a very, very easy to borrow name at many, many firms. So what that does is it causes a big failure to delivery on T+2. So that means Wednesday, if we're still hanging around and they haven't raised, then we could have a really big move if it's not tomorrow. So there's either going to be the type of move where it just blows out everybody that was too early, or it's going to be the type where it just does that slow, sneaky move and then just buy-ins in it, and it goes nuts. So regardless, fantastic trade. And like I said, the reason why, and let me just take these off for a moment. The reason why I got a lot of conviction at that, basically the 680 level, 660, 670 rather, is, I made mention of that in the pre-market, right? And I said that this is going to be a key level. They went down, they trapped. And so basically, this ended up squeezing out, and then it comes right back under. But then once it started to gear up, started to grind up a little bit more, I mentioned it again, and I said, remember guys, 660s, 60s, 70s is probably going to be a big area. And it might take a few tries to get through, but if it does, then that means game on. And I mean, literally to the penny, you got your 660 to 670 consolidation, and it busts through, which is where they were soaking size here pre-market. As soon as it busted through, you got that quick buck almost to the upside, and that was that. So I was very happy overall with the trade, and I think I walked people through it relatively well. Like I said, my goal in the room is not to post entries and exits on this type of thing. It's to remind you what's a good trade on it, what's not, the key levels, where the trigger points are. And, with that, you can pretty much figure out what a good trade is on that name. So I got a lot of PMs today, so I'm assuming that it made sense to the majority of you guys. Other than that, so we had GE. Put these arrows back on. GE was actually a really nice trade for me. I just kind of dabbled in there, covered a bulk, re-added. Got a decent chunk off the open. Did exactly what I kind of spelled out my game plan was pre-market. Flushed out, covered. And then I re-put on a few, just not big. Just after I take that initial move, I'm not getting too aggressive, but. Didn't make huge, but it was a profitable trade overall from the ads. And again, this is not add and hope for the best. I was strategically kind of just testing the waters in there, and then the time that I said I was short was right here, just because I was fairly confident with it. And I'm just kind of dabbling in, putting stuff on the offers just to kind of see how fast I fill. If I'm filling off the offers right away, then I don't want to be aggressively short. If I'm starting to have trouble filling on the offers, especially on a stock like GE, then I want to probably say I'm the bid, and that's exactly what I did. So sometimes that's just the tell to kind of see how liquid it is on the offers. So that's that. MDT, I had a couple trades there joining the trend. Dan S had a phenomenal alert on this. I really wish I saw it early on, but I was in the middle of going from my home to my office, so I missed out on that crack. But fantastic alert by him, and me and him jive very well on the unwinders. We both have the same eye. We both are interested in the same types of names, and this is the ideal type of situation. When you get on the right side, it just absolutely comes apart. So anyway, I just joined, and the idea is if you're chasing it down, obviously I'm not sizing it in huge, but if you do join it down and it flushes, you got to be on the cover side. So that's what I did. I nailed it, and it flushed out, so I went ahead and covered the rest. Retraded it one more time. I also traded it in E-Trade, which is obviously not shown here. Roku was great. I had some really good entries on this. May not look like much, but this is a chart that's showing $10 of range on the day. So although the candles are not spaced that much, there was a lot of $40, $60 to $1 plus moves, and I got short into the ramps and pullbacks, ramps, pullbacks, ramps, pullbacks. And that was pretty much it for the most part. I'd love to see this go towards 45s tomorrow, maybe blow off something like that and then pull back. Keep in mind, this is not a stranger to these types of moves. If you guys remember, over this day, it had a major squeeze. Next day, gap up and then an unwind. So we could be getting prepared for another 5 to 7 tomorrow, maybe even 10. And then the next day, maybe another 2 or 3, and then it pulls back 7. So the news today is good enough to probably support this thing for a little while and make people excited. But I also think that we're in a position here where there's a ton of shorts trapped. And the reason for that is because, just look at the market. We had that rebound real fast, but sometimes people lean on these things a little too aggressively, especially in a day like today where it's up $4 or $5. Who would think that it's going to go up that much? So they end up getting in a bad situation, and then we get to take advantage of that as it blows through 44, 45, 46, and so on and so forth. So I'm very excited about this one. I like the price range. I think we're going to have some great opportunities on it. It should be good. So then the last one, and again, this was a loser for me. And once again, it's not ad. That's not the story here. Just like I spelled it out in the room, I put on testers. I don't get into size, and I did not go past 1/3 size until a little bit around this range over here, and I thought that it was just fully blown off, and then at that point I just went ahead and moved on. And you can see that that's an emotional cover. I just said to hell with it. You know what? AXSM was killing it, and there was no reason for me to be in this name. Even if it pulled back to 1350s, it was still a good cover because this could have gone 1450s, 15s, so on and so forth. So, but realistically, I probably should have covered in this area. But what I was thinking, it was going to kind of shove people into the 14s and then kind of fall through momentum and pull back. So I had a little bit of a bias here, and that screwed me. But overall, it was fine. It was good. I had basically once I sized up, I had a 13.75 average or so because I just put on a couple. Like I told you guys, and like I told the room, if I'm going to short this thing 10,000 shares, I'm putting on 500 shares here and there, and then the only time that I would get over a couple thousand shares is in this area. Basically anticipating that 14 is going to peak out a few times. And if it doesn't, then that's where I need to go ahead and behave, and that's what I did. And then I ended up kind of scaling in over here. It looked like it was going to hang out and hold, so I went ahead and covered. And that was pretty much it, besides obviously this little 3 or 4 cent donation that I decided to do at the end of the day. Other than that, I had PCG and HCLP. HCLP was a nice one off the open. Will not have arrows. I did this one in E-Trade as I had posted, but basically took advantage of the ramp out of the open. Had a nice push, exactly what we were hoping for, and then it just flushed out. And, it's before 10 a.m., and I've told you guys all month, last month and this month, but if you nail something and a situation like this where it goes 370s, 380s to 330 in a matter of minutes, you need to be on the cover side. You need or the sell side, whatever it may be. At least lock some in, because so many times you can be dead right and then it just reverses. And this is a situation like that. So most of the move was in that first 10 minutes. So I went ahead and moved on. And, it was a trade that I was prepared for. It worked. Personally, I would have preferred slow, steady bleed down. But when it washes out, I was expecting slow, steady unwind. But when it does a speedy, flush, that's different than what I pretty much expected. So I went ahead and covered the rest of those shares. And then the last but not least was PCG. PCG I minimized for sure. I basically traded this washout. Over here it started to ramp up, so I started to buy the dips. And I basically had a 19 average, and it was doing very nicely. It went up almost to 20, and I was getting into a mood of potentially this thing's going to squeeze out, maybe go 20, 50, 21, something like that. So I got a little bit too patient with it. I locked a little bit along the ways, re-added some, pulled back. So I ended up selling the majority of it, rebought on the 19 rebound, felt pretty good right here, and then it started to fade off, and I just said, you know what, this is number one, I'm watching way too much because AXSM is just going straight up for me. And then number two, just the risk that's involved, given the bankruptcy talk and this and that. For this type of trade for me, this is a reactive trade off of some fast moves, and that's it. I don't want to sit in this stock all day long. There's risk when you're trading it. It could halt. It could have news. It could do anything at any time, and that's okay. Like, I'll still trade it given that risk, but the way I'm going to minimize that risk is only trade the big moves. And you can see this was a big move, but then it started to turn into a long, full day type consolidation, and that was not for me. So that's it. Those are my trades. Fantastic job today. Hopefully the review has helped. Feel free to leave comments. If you have questions, reach out. Great questions in the lounge today. We did the mic pre-market. And we also did it midday. So as you guys know, if I'm just kind of babysitting a few trades throughout the day, and I'm not really aggressively trading, I have no problem turning on the mic and answering questions in the middle of the day. So, but great questions in the lounge. That's the goal of the lounge. That's where all new members go. Reach out, members helping members, and that's that. So. We'll see you in the room tomorrow.